Welcome to the DK Custom Products channel. Today we're going to be talking about an exciting new product.
In fact, what you're looking at right here is one of our very first production models.
This product is codenamed Transformer. That's probably the name we're going to use for it, and we're going to get into the details of it here in a minute.
Right, but before we get into what this is, we'd appreciate if you guys would like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, because that always helps us out.
I've been running the Transformer on my Softail for the last 23 months. And before that, we'd spent about 6-7 months in production. And before that, Devin and I talked about it for 4 or 5 years before that.
Yeah. And for those of you that have been following along to our channel for the past year or so, this has been seen in videos, but no one's noticed it.
Right, yeah. You can put up some of the footage from our other videos where it's clearly in the background and no one's ever said, hey, what's that? And that's good, because that's one of the reasons that we made this is to, people like to run external breather system to keep all the junk out of their engine, to help it perform better. We'll put a link to external breather systems up in the corner here. But what we wanted was the cleanest possible external breather system. What we also wanted was, in case in the future some government agencies say you cannot run an external breather system on your motorcycle, which there's no one doing that now. There are no states that have emissions inspections of motorcycles. This can be EPA compliant.
Yes.
And we'll show you how in a few minutes. But it can be EPA compliant. It can also be an external breather system, and it's super clean. You don't have hoses coming off of where the breather bolts bolt in to the heads. And you can see where have one mocked up on the Tri-Glide, which is an M8.
Yes, sir.
And we have them for the Sportster, the twin cam cable operated, the twin cam throttle by wire, and the M8, which those are all throttle by wire.
So what exactly is this? You're probably asking yourself. Well, this is a support bracket that fits between the air cleaner and the throttle body.
And you mentioned a good point. This does function as a support bracket. So you don't need to, if you get one of our air cleaners, you don't need to use the factory support bracket, or if you don't have a factory support bracket, you don't have to buy an aftermarket support bracket. This is a support bracket. Right.
And we keep calling it the Transformer because not only is it a support bracket, it doubles as the external breather system and or the internal breather system. So you have the option to vent your crankcase gases externally, which is highly recommended. Or, if something happens and your bike must be EPA compliant, you can reroute that where it vents internally. There's a lot of passages in here that can route or reroute that carryover however you want it.
Yeah, and so this is a Sportster version. This is the Milwaukee 8 version. You can tell it's offset because the throttle body on a Milwaukee 8 is not centered between the heads.
Offset.
It's offset, so that's offset. We have our breather bolts. We have our spacers. If you've looked at most aftermarket, they have a setup like this where they have spacers. And you can see how it's bolted up. It's very clean. What you see on the bottom, this is a place for the hose to come out. So instead of having two hoses going to a T, going to your filter, your catch can, you now have one hose going to your filter or catch can. And you can have it on an L, or you can put it with a straight down. I like the L because when you have the L, then the hose comes off to the side. It's well behind the air cleaner. You don't see any hoses anywhere with this external breather system.
Correct. But a lot of people have different opinions on what aesthetic looks best. If you use the straight fitting, you can have the catch can, filter, or hose hanging directly below your air cleaner. If you use the L fitting, you can direct it whichever direction you want to go with it. When we package these and ship them out, they're already going to be set up to vent externally because we know that's how most people are going to want to do it anyways. And the way it does vent, same way all other external breather systems vent, the air passes up through the head breather system of your engine, out the rocker boxes, out of the breather ports, and through these banjo bolts. These banjo bolts are hollow, and they vent out of the shaft of the bolt. And then these banjo bolts pass through these spacers, and you'll note these spacers have O-rings on both sides, so they will seal up, won't let any oil or liquid carryover seep out. And as they pass through the support bracket and into the spacer, you'll notice that it's hollow fitting, and it's that way by design until you fasten it in place. And what that's going to do is create a cavity inside this spacer to accumulate any and all oil carryover that will then travel into the back plate via the little seepage hole you see right there. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but from there, that's where the magic happens. It diverts through this back plate via a series of channels and is either going to come out of the external breather system you've installed, which, like I said, comes standard when we package them, or with inside here, you can divert that to vent internally.
Another thing is an O-ring on this side. So you have an O-ring sealing there, you have an O-ring on both sides here. There's no way for any seepage.
Right. Now, we've sold banjo fittings for years now, and there's nothing wrong with the design. It's just sort of primitive. It's just metal washers to metal fittings. If you don't have your torque specs right, there could be some leakage.
Or if gets some dirt or, What we wanted to design was the Cadillac of external breather systems. The most stealth look you can get, super clean. And this is billet aluminum. Mm-hmm. It can be polished up to a mirror finish. And we'll put up a picture showing before and after mirror finish on some of our billet material. Or you could obviously paint it or color match it, whatever you wanted to do with it.
Right.
So what happens is if a person wants, as Dwayne said, these are going to be shipped, set up for an external breather system. And then you can put in the L or you can put in the straight. But if you want to be EPA compliant, mm-hmm. or if you need to be EPA compliant, or if you're in Europe or Australia and you have your own regulations over there and you need to be compliant, you can use one of our Outlaw air cleaners with one of these and have it vent internally just like the factory air cleaner does. So there are 6 small fasteners that we're going to take apart, we're going to take out and show the inside of these and show how you can transform this from an external breather system to an EPA compliant system just by taking these 6 fasteners out. So after you take the 6 screws out, you remove the plate right here. You can see this is rubber. All around is rubber that is sealing this plate to the main body of the transformer. And then you can see right here, there are 2 little pieces of rubber. When you remove these 2 little pieces of rubber, now as the air comes through the breather bolts, it goes straight down the channel and comes straight in here and gets relieved into the intake rather than into the external breather system. And of course, you put a plug down here so that no hot, oily, oxygen-depleted air comes out there. Instead, it all goes into your intake, reducing your performance and building up carbon, but making you EPA compliant. And then if you want to put these back in and run it as an external breather system, i.e. transform it from an EBS to EPA compliant, you just put these little rubber, they're round pieces of rubber, you put them back into these slots, and now the hot, oily, oxygen-depleted air cannot pass through this channel and go into the engine. It goes along the channel, it goes along the channel here, along the channel here, and then goes into this hole where the channels meet up, and then out this hole right here into your hose that then is connected to your filter or your catch can, or some people just run a hose straight to the ground. And of course, this will be where your air cleaner bolts up to, and that back plate is going to cover this. So it's totally discreet, totally hidden. We are filming this a couple months before we introduce it. Oh, and by the way, we've had about 7 or 8 customers who've been running this for the last year, year and a half on their own bikes. So besides running it on my bikes, we've had customers running on theirs. Good reports for everybody. Yeah. It's super clean install. Very discreet. Unless you want to have your catch can or filter showing, you can. And it works well, and it's there in case you ever need to be compliant with whatever the emission standards are in your area.
Now, as always, if you guys have questions about fitment or compatibility with your model, shoot us an email to support@dkcustomproducts.com or give us a call.
You all ride safe out there.